So who would like to come forward and speak?
Robert Knebel, South 37, West 27197 Genesee Road. The comment that we're taxing to the maximum amount, I would like the board to endeavor to tax less than the maximum amount to conserve the most money that we can. I'd also like to have a full description of the capital expenditures that we're not going to be taking care of. In other words, exactly what we're not spending the money on and how it will affect future expenditures. For instance, if we're not going to do a road project and we're going to have a deteriorating road, that's going to cost more money because, so those are the types of things I'm interested in hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to come forward next? Maybe if we could just ask one other thing. Mr. Knebel, would you mind maybe take that sign-in sheet and if you just put it back on, and we don't want to interrupt the process here, but put it on the back counter there. And if you would then first, and people, you can do that after you speak, but we'd like to have everybody sign in so we for sure got a record who's here to do that. All right, who would like to go next? Again, if you'd like to use the sanitary wipes or anything, take your time and do that. Go ahead.
Mike Borchert, B-O-R-C-H-A-R-D-T, West 231, South 520, 500 South. From what I can see in the numbers, we definitely have to go to the maximum levy allowed by the state. Maybe sometime in the future, we're going to have a referendum to actually exceed that, to move forward with projects that are needed in the village of Waukesha. So I just wanted to, and one of the issues or items I have a question on is the progression of the new fire station. And is that something that would be covered under the capital budget plan and not necessarily listed on what we have here? So that's my question on that. And the residents of the village are going to have to understand, somewhere along the line, taxes are going to have to go up to pay for the improvements that we need in the services for the village. And it's just like any other business. So they're not always going to be, they're low taxes now, but we got to accept the fact that they're going to have to go up sometime in the future. Maybe not tonight. Obviously, we'd have to have a referendum to exceed the tax state levy, but maybe next year. So everybody has to keep that in mind. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Who is next, please?
My concern is that wages and salaries for the fire department seem to be out of line with the rest of the budget. And I know that there is a plan to build a new fire station, and if this has to go to a referendum, I'm pretty sure it will fail. And we need something for the Department of Public Works, and we need something for the fire station. If you're going to tax to the max for wages and other things, there is no way that this village will pass a referendum. So I'm just telling you that this is my opinion, that you cannot do both of these things. You cannot tax to the maximum and then put up for buildings a referendum, because people are expecting that the buildings will be paid for out of these taxes.
Okay, thank you. Who's next?
Sandy Hamm, West 230, South 3827, Milky Way Road. I agree with almost everything that was said. Excuse me a second. It was said by everyone in some form or another as to the 14% versus the minus 46%. Everything that was said was accurate, but the number at the end is 0.76. It's also true that it appears on paper to be coming out of the capital budget from compared to last year. So anyway, this document that I prepared, I'm going to just run through it real quick. None of this should come as a surprise to any of the people on the board. So, you know, the property tax is going for operations going up 14, but that's not the whole picture. When one includes the capital part of it, which is decreasing, the property tax is not going up 14%, but only 0.76 or like $13,000, as has been mentioned. Only about $450 per village if we were to increase it to like double. As for taxes, on my last tax bill, the total to be paid was $3,620. The village portion of that was $506, or 14%. And this ties into what Brian was saying about school district. The other, should be $3,114, or 86% of it went to the county and schools, and the school district portion was $1,980, nearly 55%. The elephant in the room is the expense of to operate the fire department, which continues to escalate, which Betty mentioned. While the total levy will go up only $13,000 next year, the salary and wages alone for the fire department, no buildings, no trucks, and none of that, are budgeted to go up almost 54%. That's a dollar increase of $220,000. With other expenses for the fire department, not just wages, the operating expense alone for the fire department comes to about $884,000. That's 52% of the tax levy. Over half the property tax is attributed to the operation of the fire department. When the total tax levy only goes up $13,000 and the fire department jumps $220,000, that means $207,000 are being taken from other items in the budget. And in this 2021 budget, compared to last year, that appears to be coming from capital items and a few other operational line items. I think as a community, this needs to be addressed in whatever way is deemed best. We all want great response times and great service, but at what price? And are the increases over the past few years getting us better service? And what is the measure of that? I think something has to give. Besides living within our means, or even less as has been suggested, it means something has to give, and some things are not going to get done if we don't do something about the revenue. There's only two options. One is for the villages to have a referendum to exceed the state mandated levy limit. You can read about lots of these online, initiated by both municipalities and school districts. The portion of our tax bill attributed to the village is very small compared to the schools and other taxing entities. The second option is to borrow and then repay the interest and principal. The problem right now for the village is that even though money is very cheap, the village, without a referendum to exceed the levy limit, doesn't have an adequate revenue stream from property taxes to both pay the interest and pay down the debt on any major borrowing. So I offer the question, is the village electorate of a mind to support a referendum to exceed the levy limit, as the city of Delafield did? Do you support being taxed more to pay for things or want the village to live within the limits imposed by the state? You can't have it all. I did note just now, the city's mill rate in 2018 was $19.57, not $1.80. So we're far, far below, and most towns and villages were far below as well. So I would like the board to consider several things. I think that there should be a referendum levy for the levy limit somewhere down the road next year, and follow what the people want. I mean, if the vote comes back, we don't want any more taxes, what they're saying to you is we don't want to retain our services. we're gonna get less services for the same money that we're spending. I think that you should invest in some kind of independent audit of the fire department and find out what we can do to best help the fire department to provide the services that we want. And as for tonight's budget, I would recommend somebody make a motion to move money from the public safety division, or line item here, and on the one sheet page, and move it back to capital. I don't know what that dollar amount might be, but I think that something's got to move back into the operations of the roads or whatever else it is. And that's what I'd like to see you guys consider. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Who's next, please? We got the bashful people now. Come on. I'd like to hear from all of you who have something you'd like to share.
That's Mark Williams, South 52, West 25235 Poppy Field Road. So I'm looking at the budget and it seems like the salaries are going up. And some are going down. But a lot of us, under COVID, aren't getting any raises, so I'm surprised you're giving out raises. The other thing I'm curious about is a 100% increase in health and dental benefits. I don't understand how that's even possible. Another question I had was, I believe the town contributed to the bypass that was just finished, or is in the process of being finished. I'm wondering what portion of the capital that was spent last year was that maybe is a bubble regarding the budget going forward. But I agree with Sandy about the capital. You can't neglect the roads and other capital requirements and then, raise your hand crying at the end that everything's falling apart because we don't have any money when you spent the money on other things.
Hang just a second, I would just interrupt you for a minute, and pretty much we've kind of let people ask questions, address it the way, but I do want to just pick up on the bypass, and to be clear, the town of Waukesha, the village of Waukesha, never paid a dime toward the bypass project. So just to correct that, we actually had some input and were able to participate in some of the planning meetings and decision-making part of it. Most of the money, the lion's share of it, was federal or state money. The county paid some significant sum of money. I don't remember the exact numbers. The city paid a fairly significant amount of money for the bypass project. The town of Waukesha was not asked to contribute to it 1 cent, and we didn't. So in that regard, I think, even though there are clearly issues about that project that people had different points of view on in terms of the environmentally related issues, but in terms of the financial part of it, the town didn't pay a cent.
Okay, I thought I read that the town had to pay a portion.
No.
But that just magnifies the reduction in the capital spending.
Understood. Okay, thank you for your comments. Who else would like to speak? Just ask or wait for somebody to come up. Just a reminder with all of you who spoke, when you get a minute, would you please just kind of migrate to the counter back there and just put your names and addresses on there so we've got a complete record of everyone who spoke. We appreciate that. Okay, who would like to speak next?
Okay.
Welcome.
Hi, thanks. Gloria Kurth, S31, W25, 109, Green Valley Drive. I think I'm really upset that the roads are deplorable. I have toured the roads in spring, and I have found potholes that were significantly deep that have never seen one repair. Roads are deplorable, and I believe that's been going on forever. So I don't agree with the reduction in road repair or snow plowing. What I would like to know, if there was a feasibility study done for the fire department, whether or not that can be outsourced to different areas around us. That would save our money. Also, I think salaries should be frozen at this point. Public sector is not getting raises because of the COVID. They're having difficult times making their money meet. So why should our government employees get raises? Also, look into having the employees pay a portion of their health and dental insurance if they're not doing it already.
Thank you. Who's next?
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, if there are no further comments from the citizenry, the public hearing regarding the 2021 village budget will be closed at 7:32 p.m. And we'll proceed to item 6, discussion and possible action regarding adopting the 2021 village budget and establishing the property tax levy. Just a couple of things, and I should back up and thank all of you. I don't know, what did we have, some 8 people or something like that speak, however many there were, but want to thank all of you on behalf of the village board for your comments, your thoughtful input. I think many of you framed the discussion well, the decisions that are before us.